Hey everybody, I'm Quinn.
I'm Scott, and it's time for the Almost Friday show for August 25th, 2011.
Starting it off, we've gotten off the press this week.
That's right, we're delving right into Tech Insight because it's been a big week this week for tech. Last night, fairly late in the day, we learned that Steve Jobs has stepped down as CEO of Apple. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, what it means for the company, Tim Cook stepping in as CEO, what do we think about Tim Cook in that position, and things like that coming up in Tech Insight.
And Sean's Mad Science, we're talking about bionic legs. You know, that's...
Bionics are good,
And, Sean likes legs.
I guess.
He's a leg man.
Woo! He's a leg man.
Apparently he's a leg man.
Confirmed. We're going behind the lens, and there's a lot to talk about. Many announcements, some of which fairly exciting. Sony kind of, not came out of nowhere. We saw a little bit of this coming, but new SLR.
Yep.
Update to the VG10. Update to the NEX series.
And then a bunch of stuff we really don't care about from Nikon and Canon, which has kind of been the trend recently.
We'll touch on that briefly, but really we're excited about the Sony announcements, I think.
So without further ado, it's time to go to Tech Insight. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech Insight. Big news this week. We like to talk about Apple. Apple comes up almost every week.
Usually.
But nothing more important than Steve Jobs stepping down as CEO of Apple.
Yeah, so I don't think this was a surprising move. You know, he's had health problems. He stepped away from CEO.
Although I do think it caught everyone off guard because
yes.
no one saw it coming right now.
I could have seen after the iPhone announcement.
Yeah.
But pre-iPhone announcement, I think the timing's a little interesting. So he's stepping down as CEO because he feels he can't perform the duties the way they need to be performed, which I think is an admirable decision for him.
Yeah. I mean, the important part to understand here is that Steve Jobs does have health issues, and he's choosing to care about himself and his family as opposed to the business that he runs, which I think is an important decision.
Yeah.
Because if he could slug it out at work until he died, but would he be happy as a person? Probably not.
Yeah, because, Steve Jobs is more than just Apple, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's a person just like you or me, so I don't think this is I think it's probably a good decision for him. He's staying on. He's now the director of the board of directors, the head of the board of directors.
Chairman.
Yeah, so he was already on the board, I believe, but now he's the chairman of the board. Bill Gates is the chairman of the board for Microsoft. That gives you kind of a perspective.
It's a pretty common thing when the people that run their companies decide to take a little bit of a back seat.
Basically, he's still involved, but not really. So day-to-day operations, the board doesn't get any input. That's why they have CEOs, COOs, things like that.
Yeah.
So he still gets a vote on the big decisions, but really he's not going to be molding the products like he was in the last little while. And some people have said, he's going to be in there. Steve Jobs seems like an all-in or all-out kind of guy.
He does.
I don't think he would think it's fair to say Tim Cook, who is now the new CEO, to have Steve going, no, I don't think you should be doing this, and I think you should change this. I don't think he'll do that.
Yeah.
Because Apple has always been a top-down kind of company, and I think that new top-down is going to have to be with Tim Cook. I mean, the company can't change its culture because that's why people want to work for Apple. That's what makes Apple different. So it still has to be the same kind of company, except with someone else at the top.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see because so many people like the company because they like what Steve Jobs represented as a person running the company. What's going to happen to those followers? Because I definitely think there are some people who lots of people consider Steve Jobs a hero, especially in the graphic art world and that sort of stuff. The market that really flourished from what Apple was doing, a lot of these people look up to Steve as being the guy that helped them do their jobs properly. And so it's going to be interesting to see where people go from here, whether they're going to stick with Apple products with him, being out of the picture, or whether they'll move on to something new. And, we talked about this, about whether I kind of feel like it's either Steve Jobs is in completely or he's out completely.
Yes.
Because if he's sitting there kind of puppeteering a little bit from the board of directors, then we might not get some of the progression we could have without him in.
And I think really...
Whereas I think he should just be in all the way and do it his way or not do it his way at all.
And I think you're going to see not his way at all. For a couple of reasons. One, I don't think he wants... Tim Cook's now the CEO.
Yes.
He's not the acting CEO. Steve does not... I don't see him being the kind of guy to take little powers away. He's the CEO now. It's his company. That's basically how that works. I don't see Steve kind of going behind his back or going over him because you can't go over the CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not... business structure doesn't work. And the other thing, I don't think Steve's going to be in the office every day.
No, certainly not.
I think he wants to know what's going on with the company, for sure. I mean, it's his baby. He's built it to where it is almost single-handedly, really.
Absolutely.
In terms of direction, anyway. So I think he wants to know what's going on, but I mean, he's not going to be in going, well, I don't like this color on the iPad 3 or something.
Mhm.
You know, those kind of decisions aren't going to be there. You know, if it's a new product, say some crazy new TV synergy thing, you know, he might have a hand in crafting it a little bit, but I don't
Or
think...
possibly, vetoing a choice he doesn't think is, a good direction.
You won't see him in there working on the engineering drawings and things like
No.
that, which he's been known to do. He's
Yeah.
had his hands in the nitty-gritty stuff for a long time. So I think you'll see more of an observing kind of role. He wants to know what's going on, and I think if anything went really different, you know, he'd step in. But he recommended Tim Cook for the job.
And to be honest, we all really saw that as the transitional point because Tim has stepped in on some of the more recent, when they do their conferences. Tim Cook has been the guy to come on stage and talk about this kind of stuff. So it made sense for him to be the one to naturally take that place.
And Tim as a person, I've been reading a little bit about his background, really dedicated worker. He's been with Apple for 13 years, and he's the first one in the office in the morning. He's the last one to leave at night. He made Apple the envy of the industry in terms of their supply and demand process, where their factories are built, how their whole supply chain works. I don't know if you know, but Apple has a really, really admirable inventory system, which I read a little bit about recently, and apparently like everyone wants to do that, and that was all Tim Cook. So he knows the business. He knows the products. He's been here through all the new product development. So I think he's the only choice, realistically. And you still got Johnny Ive around for design and things like that.
And Phil Schiller, I believe, came out with a letter that said nothing's going to change.
Yeah, basically. And that's what the emails we've been seeing to the employees are saying. Look, it's still Apple. We're still this company. We are still making the best in consumer electronics, and we're going to go forward that way.
Yeah.
And are they still going to make the iPad 3 way better than the iPad 2? Absolutely. Are the MacBook Airs continuing to get better? Yeah, they will. Is iOS still going to be, every revision is going to have lots of cool features for sure. I think what might change is you're not going to see things like the iPad, like ridiculous innovations in marketplaces anymore, because Apple's running out of room that way, and Steve has pushed a lot of these things.
And we had a discussion earlier about whether or not there's really a new product to innovate right now.
No, I'm sure Apple has 500 things on the go.
But is there... the market doesn't have a demand for any kind of new particular product.
But there was no demand for the iPad, and they made one.
Well...
Right? But I don't see Apple doing that again.
Yeah.
They did it with iPhone. They did it with iPad. They've tried to do it in other places, and it hasn't been as successful. Like Apple TV, they've tried twice now.
And we like Apple TV too, but it's still...
I don't think it's not selling like the iPad is kind of thing. So I think, the analysis has been fairly similar across the board in terms of tech journalists, even ourselves come up with similar points. The company's going to be a little bit different, but not in attitude, not in culture, not in products. I just think, Steve was hands-on, and he's not Tim Cook. They're different people. They can't do the exact same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's going to be Tim Cook's company now. He's the CEO. He's going to have not major changes, but he's not the same person. So there's going to be little things. Do I think Apple's going to go downhill? No. A lot of people say, it's the end.
A lot of people were selling their stock.
Well, stock dropped $50 as soon as the announcement came out. It just plunged. But it came back up about half that today on trading, I think. So not surprising. Most times when a CEO leaves, stock drops. I think I dropped a little further because it was Steve Jobs and Apple. But, stock's still high, valuation's still through the roof. They've still got iOS 5 launching, new iPhone launching, iPad 3 coming in the spring. They got a lot going for them as a company. They're not in trouble.
No, for sure.
And they're a smart company, so they've planned this succession.
Absolutely.
They knew it was coming. It's not like this is a surprise.
I think Tim Cook's been expecting it for at least a year.
It's not a surprise to their executive team, for sure. Tim Cook has been kind of taking on more and more of these duties as it goes on anyway. Mm-hmm. So really not a huge transition at the actual office kind of thing. So all the best to Steve, for sure.
Absolutely.
And
we wish him the best in recovery or...
I don't think he's suddenly worsened. I just think he wants a different...
Probably.
That's my opinion anyway. So
anyway, more Apple news. This side, this a little bit of the
little
more
bit on the
backstabbing side.
More ridiculous, and we're not... A lot of the times we side with Apple.
This time, not so much.
No, not really.
So there's been an ongoing lawsuit between Samsung and Apple regarding patents and design and all that kind of stuff. And it's recently sort of come to a conclusion in Europe. And Europe has decided that, yes, Samsung has infringed on design qualities of the iPhone. And they're now restricting Samsung's Galaxy line of phones from being sold in Europe. So that's the Galaxy S2, the Captivate, and the
There's a 4 or 5 of them now.
Yeah, and it's 4 or 5 headsets.
The naming's confusing, but
Which
anything
are-
with a Galaxy in it, basically.
which are now not going to be allowed to be sold in Europe. You can still get them in the States. But I don't really know. Like I get it that they're trying to prove that Apple designed it first or whatever, but I just don't see how this really benefits anyone because it makes Apple look like a jerk. And really how many extra sales they're going to get on account of
My
it.
biggest problem with this is I think the reason why you're seeing this on specifically Samsung, because realistically, Android's relatively similar. Yeah, there's skins, Motorola's a skin, Samsung has a little bit of a skin.
Mm-hmm.
Android is relatively similar. And the fact that the phone, it's not the same phone. The insides are different to start. The design's similar, but it's a touchscreen phone.
Which, there's a lot of those today.
And to be honest, patents are fairly, you can elude them very easily, If I'm describing my phone and it's exactly this way, well, if I change it by a millimeter, I'm not infringing on your patent anymore. That's the world of patents, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're going after Samsung because Samsung is the biggest player. If LG had the most phones, they'd be suing. LG has phones that look exactly like those phones, but they're not suing LG. They're going after the big guy because they want to squash competition, which, okay, I get it, you can do that, but Samsung's phones are really good, and they're not eating your market share. They're eating BlackBerry's market share.
It's true.
BlackBerry's numbers are going down. Apple and Google are going up.
It's true.
I think it's just disappointing. And it's really hard for Samsung because their main distribution center for mobile is in Europe.
Yeah.
Even the phones that come to North America come out of Europe. So they're going to have to logistically do something there, I think. So I hope this gets worked out. I don't know if Android or Samsung can just change a little thing and all of a sudden it's fine again.
Maybe, who knows?
I don't know the details, and to be honest, I don't want to know because once you get into patents, it's very. If you've never read a patent, go try. It's awful. It's just an awful process. So it's very complicated, but I hope this gets reversed because I really like the Samsung phones, and they're not iPhones by any means. But I don't know, disappointing, I think.
Speaking of disappointment, BlackBerry decided to launch its music service.
Yeah, the day Steve Jobs resigned, bad timing.
Gonna kind of get buried under the headlines.
So
there,
I'll give you
BlackBerry.
a quick lowdown of BBM Music. That's what it's called. $5 a month.
Which good price point. It's not bad.
Starting, that's a lot cheaper than a lot of other services. It's a locker service, so you upload your own music, so you can put up whatever you want.
Yep.
50 songs total, ever. You can't buy up. Just 50 songs, which, okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
Next, the more ridiculous restriction, you can only swap 25 songs a month. That's
So those 50 songs that you have, you can't even change on a day-to-day basis.
No, that's right.
So you can load like 3-4 albums and then if you've listened to those 4 albums, you're stuck with at least 2 of them.
Yeah. So you can load them all up originally, but then if you want to take some down and replace them, you can only do half.
Yes.
Which I think is a ridiculous restriction, especially for a pay service. If you say 50 songs for $5.99, you can change them all you want and then give it for free if you can only change half, sure.
Yeah.
But not
or
for a
even
pay
or even
service.
if you said maybe like $10 a year.
Yeah.
But at
okay.
$5 a month,
I'm expecting
that is
yeah.
$60 a
Yeah.
year for 50 songs. And
So-
they're not even songs they're giving you.
No,
they're songs you
you're-
already have.
Realistically, you already should have paid for.
It's like
No. Now,
RIM is just so stupid.
I don't. Well, if they had launched this 10 years ago, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, but
So-
none of their phones would have been able to play anything.
So, not great at all. One cool feature that I think is a really cool feature.
And we'd
that-
like to see Android and Apple steal
I'd like to
because
see-
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I got a BlackBerry. I'm paying for this terrible service. You got a BlackBerry. You're paying for the terrible service. We're BBM buddies. I have your PIN or whatever the hell it is.
It's a pin.
Sure. You got 50 songs up. I got 50 songs up. Since we're BBM buddies, I can listen to both our songs whenever I want. Pretty cool. And I can make playlists with your songs and my songs and that kind of thing. So that's awesome.
But still super restrictive because you've
50
probably got like
songs.
maybe 4 friends with Blackberries. And then you got to hope that all 4 of them have decided to pay $5 a month for this
Yes.
really stupid service. And then you got to hope that you like the music that all 4 of your friends have put onto their Blackberry service.
Or that it's significantly different enough to make your library that much bigger.
Yes.
Because, if me and, say, Sean or me and, say, my buddy Tom had it, there would be a lot of crossover, which would
Absolutely.
make it completely useless. So I think that's a really cool feature that someone else should steal.
because it's in this really crappy service.
Yeah, but no, stupid.
I'm gonna get the nail from the back room that you can put into your coffin now, BlackBerry, because what are you doing?
That service is like 5 years too late. If you had launched this 5 years ago, that would have been huge.
Yeah.
When bandwidth was a little more restricted, but I got nothing for you.
It's really just disappointing.
Even if you love BBM, don't check this out. But if you really need to, for whatever reason, it's launched in Canada, the UK, Mexico, and the United States.
Which was the first time a music service has launched in 4 different countries.
Which is also a respectable thing, because...
Although at the same time, since they're not actually giving you any music, I can see why that was easier.
Likely, yes. And since it's 50 songs, no one's going to sue them.
Yeah. Well, I've got this 10,000 song, you know what, forget it.
Yeah, no.
That brings us to the end of Tech Insight for this week.
It's kind of alive!
Nah, it's still dead.
Oh. Hi everyone, welcome to Mad Science for this week, and I'm gonna break that promise that I made a couple weeks ago.
Well, we haven't had prosthetics and cool stuff on this segment in quite a while.
Yeah, it's
And
really
quite
true.
a while, meaning like 3 weeks. It's a pretty long time, guys.
Yeah,
4.
maybe.
All right.
Anyway, so we're gonna start this off with, a new robotic limb, of course, prosthetic leg coming from Vanderbilt University.
Mm-hmm.
So what sets this apart from everything else, Sam?
Well, for one, it has some anti-stumbling technology. So basically what it does is that it senses that if you're about to lose balance with your foot, it'll automatically adjust itself. It's got a bunch of computers in it. It is a lot lighter than your average normal leg. Yeah. Which is crazy, but...
And the practical upshot is when you have a prosthetic limb, specifically bifemoral,
knee, so like
yeah,
knee
basically
and
knee down.
Yeah.
You have a lot of problems getting that plastic limb to move naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this kind of limping gait, or you're dragging a leg behind you, essentially. This is supposed to offset that.
Yeah.
Because this is coming out of. I love this. This is my favorite of all of them for a department, which is the where was it? Oh damn! I just lost it. Anyway, it's for the Center of Intelligent Mechatronics from Vanderbilt University. This is cool because I love intelligent mechatronics. That's intelligent
That's
robotics.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. So, the practical upshot is this gentleman who's actually been testing the leg for 6 or 7 years, Craig Hutton, was saying that it's much better than his current prosthetic because it's actually keeping up with him. It's a fraction of a second off, but that's not that bad.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, the anti-stumbling is great because that means when your leg kicks out and you don't know where it's at, it'll detect what it's doing. So it's a really neat thing that's coming up. Of course, check the show notes. It looks really cool. It looks like all those futuristic robotic legs that we should be seeing. The only thing they're worried about, though, is its complexity.
Yeah.
And that is it has to basically do 7 things at once. And it has to do it without getting confused. Because if it's like, okay, raise knee, then, tiptoe. But wait a minute, I'm going to tiptoe, raise knee, put down heel. Well, it's not supposed to do that.
One more kind of interesting thing in this article, they said they were having some troubles finding parts for it because the strength they need is like the motors and stuff are too loud for a leg.
Yeah, like it's like
it's too loud to be practical, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to be walking around and you want to be like, yeah, I'm cybernetic. See, I'd be okay with that. It depends. Can I still have a conversation when I'm walking?
Get really old though. What if you had to go shopping or something? You're walking, all day long.
I'm willing to put up with it.
That would get really old really quick.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oops. There we go.
So moving on to the next story.
The next story is even better.
In space.
I'm in space. I'm actually surprised it didn't do this. So the Robonaut came online.
Yay!
Finally, they plugged him in.
Yep. So we talked about this pretty long time ago.
Months ago.
Robonaut's the torso robot with a cool gold head.
Yeah.
It was blasted up into the space station, and it kind of just been sitting in the corner until the astronauts had time for it.
And then they promptly unboxed him and were like, okay, cool.
All right,
well,
it's
we can't do
unboxed
anything
now,
with him
but
yet.
come on, guys, get on it. So
Yeah.
they finally powered him up, and he's been tweeting a
Yeah,
lot.
he hasn't been shutting up.
No.
But he is answering questions.
Which is cool.
So that is really cool. Like, this thing is going to be, I don't know,
It's
the most advanced robot that's ever, been created.
It's basically a helper robot to help the astronauts, do things around the space station. I think they were going to be taking it out on spacewalks to hold stuff, I guess.
Pretty much. Well, it's
Yeah.
supposed to also do some of the tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a certain repair that needs to be done, it can actually judge and do it.
Yeah.
The funny thing is it's just a torso, so it's on basically a podium. The only thing is, though, they want to make legs, which are currently in development.
They're working on it.
My thinking, though, it's in space.
Yeah.
I don't know what the legs are going to do for it. I mean, you can kind of put this thing just on a... you could just kind of walk with your shoulder around it and just carry him around. I think it would work.
Maybe.
Well, unless you're in space. Well, outside, that is.
Yeah.
So he's tweeting. Check him out. Can't remember what his ad address is.
It's Astro Robonaut, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Just follow the NASA tweets, and then NASA is following all their astronauts and all their departments. So he's
And
head over
now,
there,
now they're robot.
or you can just follow NASA because they basically retweet everyone.
That's true.
That's
they
what I
really
do. I've stopped following the individual astronauts. I'm just following NASA now.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's great.
Last but not least, we are talking about the hand droid, which is not what you're thinking. It's not a new phone. It's not a Android-powered device.
Oh.
It is just a robotic hand, which
okay.
is controlled via remote.
Yep.
So you put on a little glove, and then you go, ah, and then this other hand over there starts moving it.
Yep.
The thing is, it looks cool.
It looks really cool. It's really light, and it's more nimble than other robotic hands because it's only got the one motor powering strings and squishy bits.
Exactly. So they've gone for a more simplistic view on this, and it's definitely a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, they want to put it on everything.
Everything known to man.
Like they're sitting there saying, "Oh, it's good for humans. It's good for that machine over there that apparently is going to load rocks."
Yeah.
So we're giving machines actual.
If you watch the video, they have
Extra
like
sense.
a little. They have the picture of the hand. They have the name, and they have a row of things it can be used for. And the last one on the end is like this terrifying bomb robot with little hands on it.
Yeah, which I guess I kind of
It's
get.
actually a really good use for this, actually, because
Yeah.
then the bomb operator doesn't have to like.
Yeah, just drives the robot over and go. You're right.
Yeah, because using a joystick is kind of abstract for a lot of people. So,
Yes, it really is.
Put on the glove, watch the screen, you're good to go. But
My thing is that I think it's also going to be used in the medical industry, of course,
definitely.
because now they're going to have a less scary surgical robot. That doesn't have all the sharp pointy bits on prongs, and you lie on the bed and it's just like. Anyway, so that wasn't so bad.
No.
Just a couple, all robots, but that wasn't bad, was it?
No, cool.
All right. Well, on that kind of questioning note of whether we've lost our sanity even further, we're going to end science for this week.
Welcome behind the lens for this week. It's Mega Camera Announcement Week, apparently. First off, we're going to start with the good from Sony. A pile of cool things.
It's true. Sony announced 4 new cameras, as well as a new camcorder and some new lenses. So they announced the A65 and the A77, which are their translucent mirror technology cameras. The A65 is sort of their mid-range model at about $900 price point, and the A77 is their sort of pro-ish model,
Almost, yeah.
their entry-level professional model at around a $1,400 price point. Now, what's interesting about both of these cameras is that they feature APS-C size sensors. Neither one of them is full frame, but we weren't really expecting that yet.
No.
However, they are APS-C size sensors with 24 megapixels. And on top of that, because they're using translucent mirror technology, the A65 can do 10 frames per second, and the A77 can do 12 frames per second at 24 megapixels.
Not too shabby at all.
If you're a sports shooter, you've just found your new camera, because nothing is offering you that kind of resolution plus frame rate at anywhere near that price point. I mean, as it stands, the fastest camera you'd be looking at would be getting something like a D3X or a 1D Mark IV, which both shoot at around 11 to 12 frames per second. But both those cameras cost $5,000 and up. And Sony is offering the A77 for around, I think, about $1,400. So differences between them, they both have the same sensor. That frame rate's different. The A77 is sort of their better built one. So it's got a top display screen for the LCD. It's a little bit more robust. It's a little bit better built. Not a whole lot of differences really between them. So the big thing is that we're really seeing some interesting technology with that. And then they took that same sensor and they put it into their new NEX7. So the NEX7 is sort of their pro mirrorless camera. It's got a pretty hefty price tag at around $1,100 with a lens and $1,400 with sort of a standard kit lens.
Which is getting up there in that product category.
It is the most expensive of that type of camera, although it's a really nice looking camera. So it's got the 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor. It is mirrorless, however, though, so it is smaller. It's got a 2.4 million pixel viewfinder, which is also on the A77 and the A65.
Now, on the NEX7, the viewfinder's an add-on, right? It clips into
No, you get it. You get it on the A77. On the NEX7.
Yes.
You don't get it on the NEX5.
Okay, but it is the hot shoe kind of thing?
Yeah, the NEX5 doesn't have the option for a viewfinder, so you just get it as default with the NEX7, which is really nice. So it's pretty cool. It's got the same 920K LCD screen that tilts and swivels in the back. What they've done is they've given it 3 control dials. So you've got 2 top control dials, and the back dial also spins, and each of them can be programmed to the functions you want them to have.
Which is nice, because it means you can actually take full advantage of having the 3 dials.
Well, that was the thing that a lot of people complained about with the original NEXs, was that it was very point-and-shoot sort of menu operation, so if you liked actually being able to quickly change things, you couldn't.
Yeah.
So the NEX5N is not getting that 24 megapixel sensor. It's getting a 16 megapixel sensor, but it's much better in low light. Some of the early reports have been showing that it's actually outperforming things like the D7000 in low light, which is impressive. But it doesn't have those dials, so that's something that the NEX7 has as an advantage. So I mean, if you are a serious photographer and you're looking for a compact sort of street camera, the NEX7 is looking to be quite popular. I think Amazon was saying it's the second most popular camera they've ever had on their site based on traffic at announcement, which is saying a lot, and that's showing what Sony's able to accomplish in the market today. So that's pretty cool, and they've updated their VG10 to now the VG20. And when we reviewed the VG10, our complaints were that you only had 30p, which is sort of a stupid frame rate, and you had no manual audio control.
Which was ridiculous for that kind of camera.
Which was ridiculous for a camera at that price point, and that's what they've changed. So now you've got 24p in full 1080, and 60p in full 1080, which is also really nice.
Very nice.
And as well as manual audio control. Now, they had the quad capsule array on the first one, but it was doing a simulated surround sound. The new one actually does 5.1 surround sound, so they were really good mics to begin with. And
they were, yeah. For onboard mics, they were quite good.
They were quite good, so now you're getting a little bit more spatial pattern from them, which is pretty cool. Still the same sort of $2,000 price point, still comes with that 18 to 200 lens as an option.
Pretty much the same physically.
But what's neat is they've come out with a brand new adapter for their lenses. Now, they had an adapter for their NEX2 A-mount lenses, but there was only certain lenses that would work with it, and those were lenses that were designed for the contrast detect autofocus system of their earlier live view cameras. But they've now made this new adapter, which is really innovative, and what it does is it has its own mirror system in it. So it's got its own translucent mirror system with its own set of sensors for autofocusing and its own drive motor. So now it can give autofocus back to any of the older lenses. So if you had a couple of the really, really gorgeous Zeiss autofocus primes like the 85 and the 135, you can now use those with that adapter on all of their products. So if you've got an NEX, you can use it. If you've got the VG10, you can use it. And I think that's where it's going to be important because it's a $400 adapter, so it's pricey.
You really need to have the glass
for it to make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you've got that glass because you might have been shooting with a full-frame Sony because they were pretty good, the A850 was a nice camera, and you're looking at a VG10 to start shooting some good quality video, it would make sense to have this adapter to be able to use your nice Zeiss lenses and have that autofocus because it does work really well.
I think this is really another example of Sony actually putting some thought into the package they're putting together.
Yeah.
Because, no, you don't need this adapter, but if you wanted an adapter to use the older lenses, this is exactly what it should be. I mean, it builds the whole autofocus system in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Essentially. So.
And they also announced a couple new lenses. They've got a new Zeiss 24 f1.8, which is for the NEX mount. And they also have a 50mm f1.8 for the NEX mount. And they finally came out with the 55 to 200 or 250, I don't remember, somewhere in the 200 range for the NEX mount, which was good because the NEX had an 18 to 55 and had a nice 16mm pancake, but it didn't really have a telephoto unless you bought the 18 to 200, but that was a big lens. Now the 55 to 200 still a big lens, but at least you've got a dedicated zoom lens for it. And they've also come out with a new 16 to 50 f2.8 lens for their A mount, so that's going to be a really optimal kit lens for something like the A77 where you're looking at that performance lens because that fixed 2.8 throughout is always good for performance.
I think they've really rounded out the NEX series to be a very
It's a
attractive
really
camera.
solid lineup now, and I think they're gonna. The thing is that we've been talking about how Nikon and Canon have been rather stagnant in the market. They're not innovating. They're just kind of sitting by and going, okay, I guess we'll put this feature in now. And their new cameras are basically minor tweaks, and here's a new product, you should buy it. And companies like Panasonic and Sony and Olympus are really coming out with new game-changing, well, not game-changing, but new ways
Interesting
of,
products,
the thing is there's a conversation going on now, but we need to stop calling things SLRs because there's becoming less and less and less of them.
Yeah.
Because Sony has a wide range, and Panasonic has a wide range, and Olympus has a wide range, and Samsung has a wide range, and Pentax got some coming out soon, and Nikon and Canon might still have things in the works. So we are seeing a shift in what we perceive, a performance camera to be, which is kind of interesting. So we'll move on to some Nikon announcements, and like I was talking about,
Super exciting.
Really nothing interesting. They announced 5 new cameras. I'm only going to talk about 3 of them, which is the update to the P7000, which is now the P7100.
Shocker.
Now, the features that they added were nice. They added a swivel screen, which I think was nice because that was one of the differentiating factors with the G12, is the G12 had a swivel screen, but the Nikon had more zoom. Well, now the Nikon still has more zoom and a swivel screen. And they've added an additional mode dial at the front or the back, whichever, the opposite of whatever they had. So now you've got 2 dials to change, which is nice. That's kind of how their SLRs operate.
And we did like the P7000.
It's a nice camera.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that they improved the performance overall, the speed of it, because when you were shooting in RAW, it was a slow camera. And so the performance of the camera is supposed to be increased, but really no major changes to that camera.
Yeah, it's still your pro
swivel
endpoint
screen,
shoot kind of thing.
some extra dials, a little bit better performance. But the image quality is pretty much the same. The lens is the same. The sensor's the same. So they really didn't change a whole lot about it.
Not really a new camera.
They finally decided to join the waterproof game.
A little late.
Like 6 years late.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything spectacular either. So they have their AW100. Such a all-weather 100. Yeah, that's a clever name. It's 5 times optical zoom, which you can find on most waterproof cameras now. It's rated to 33 feet underwater, which is what most cameras are now. It shoots high-definition video, which most cameras do now. And it has GPS, which most cameras do now.
So really, if you were just a Nikon shooter,
You were unwilling to buy that waterproof camera until it had a Nikon name on it.
Then you're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
And if you're anyone else, go buy the Panasonic TS3. It's better. And lastly, they've got a new 3rd update to their projector camera, the S1200 PJ. It's a little bit nicer looking. The projector has a little slide-down cover. It's a much cooler looking camera.
For sure.
Not a whole lot has changed about it. It's a 5 times optical zoom and 14 megapixels. But the cool thing about it,
Very cool feature.
and this is kind of interesting that Nikon went this route, is that you can plug your iDevice into it, so an iPod Touch, an iPhone, or an iPad, and project what's on the device. So you can project your movies, your photos, and any online web content, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Now, the thing is, if you were like, I'm going to go out and buy this camera because it's a projector and I can plug my iPad into it, well, for the $400 this camera costs, you could buy a slightly better Pico projector, which is, although a little bit bigger, a much better device. But if you were looking for a point and shoot and also looking for a projector, well, then I guess this meets your needs. The 1% of you out there that have that.
I think it's a cool product to have in the lineup.
It is,
It's
and I'm
not
gonna be. I'm
necessarily gonna be your
excited.
go-to, but
yeah,
it's-
I'm excited to get a chance to plug my iDevices into the one we get because I think it'll be cool. And I think it's neat that they put that in there, but there's really not much that's changed about it.
No.
So, a lot of people were expecting more from Nikon this week. A mirrorless system, maybe an update to the D700 or the D300S, because all of those cameras need to possibly come out. And I think a lot of people were upset. I don't know, Nikon, you got to do something soon because people are going to leave for Sony. Which, I hate saying that, but Sony's products are fantastic now. Fucking get on the ball.
Yeah.
Moving on to Canon, they did a whole lot of what Nikon did and updated some cameras. Well, they're not really updates. They're models in between models.
Yes.
So the first one up is they have the 1100 HS, which is basically a slim 12 times zoom camera. So if you were looking for a really pocketable 12 times zoom camera, they've made it. It's touchscreen, high definition video. And it's nice looking. The new Canons are very nice looking.
Well,
they're pretty cameras.
And the Canons have always been kind of stylish.
They've been reliably good cameras for image quality too. So I don't
Yeah.
have any problem recommending someone buy a Canon point and shoot. They're all pretty good. There's just really nothing special about these new cameras. They've also come out with the SX150, which is a much-needed update to the SX130, which was their slightly bigger AA-powered 12 times optical zoom camera. It's now I think it's 14 times optical zoom, and it's now a CMOS sensor, and it's got high definition video, so some updates that it needed to continue to compete. And lastly, they brought out the 310 HS, which is supposed to be between the 300 and the 500 HS that come out right now. And the only real significant difference is that it's 8 times optical zoom instead of 5 times optical zoom.
So it's a middle market player.
It is.
It's
So
like-
now there's 4 cameras in the HS series. Well, yeah. So that's Canon's announcement.
Again, nothing exciting. Really, nothing in the mirrorless space. Nothing.
It's really disappointing to see these two companies that have a whole lot of money they could be putting into
and experience.
into
I mean,
progressing the photographic field, really doing nothing in that sort. They kind of wait and go, well, now that company has it, I guess we should put it in there.
Let's hope they've got something ridiculous cooking up. Maybe. I think that's a long shot, but
I think we're going to have some news next week about the Panasonic announcement that happens tomorrow, so Friday night. They've got some pretty innovative lens designs that are going to be coming out, which I think are really going to be a changing design for rethinking what we think about micro four thirds as a format.
and again, you're seeing not Nikon
And
or
not Canon.
releasing these. Maybe this new lens concept goes nowhere, but Panasonic's putting it out there.
And Panasonic's making something that no one's really made before either. And that's what I have to respect, is that they're at least trying.
Well, that's the idea, right?
And Nikon or Canon are like, here's a swivel screen, buy it.
Well, see, innovation as opposed to making your products marketable.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's got to do it, otherwise we're not going to progress. So more on that announcement next week.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of Behind the Lens this week.
And that brings us to the end of the show this week, although brief, very important, crazy news week kind of for us, with the ridiculous camera announcements on top of Steve deciding to quit. So if you want to tell us what is next for Apple, you can email us at contact@almostfridayshow.com.
Or if you want to tell us why we should be giving more slack to the new Nikon and Canon cameras, because,
Which we may or may not do.
because they cook breakfast and make you toast, you can follow us on Twitter and send us a message at almost_Friday. So until next time, if you're creating a new product, try and get outside the box. Because we like it a lot better when you do, and really the rest of the world likes it a lot better when you do. That's our free tip of the week, I guess.
Bank it.